Hey, what's up? Coach Kyle here, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for future content. Look back at old videos, there's a bunch of them. And if you find this topic especially helpful or interesting or know somebody who will, please share it. And today I'm going to talk about how to run the Rushmore half marathon and the Glacier half marathon, both put on by Vacation Races. And I've not done Glacier. I believe it's in October, but I just did the Rushmore half today, September 22nd, 2012. And the course profiles are nearly identical. So what I say today for Rushmore is true for Glacier as well. Just in general with the race, as far as I can tell from a participant, it was extremely well done. No concerns whatsoever about like transportation, the course, the start, the finish, everything from my point of view went totally fine. The race course is beautiful. It was probably the best sunrise I've ever seen during a race. It was spectacular, and we're up pretty high, so there's a hell of a view from the course as the sun rises, and it was a nice cool day, 50 something at the start, so very shaded. It's great. It starts pretty early, 6:30 I think was the start time, so it's pretty early, but the sun's up. Well, it's not dark when you start, and it's just totally great. But so in general, the course profile looks like this. And so as you can see, there's 1,500 feet gain, and most of it's just right here in the first 5.5 miles. We start at 4,400 and we go to 5,400. We end at about 4,000, so there is a net loss, but you climb for so long that you lose so much time here that you can't make, unless you ran incredibly conservative here, you can't make time up here. But I saw two. So I didn't run this course at best effort. I am severely undertrained right now. September has been a good period of rest for me. So I just basically ran it easy. I think I ran what did I run? I don't even know. I ran a little slower than 8-minute pace, which is basically my easy pace. So, I ran, I don't know, 9-minute pace here and 7-minute pace here. I don't know. I didn't wear a watch. But so for me, as a person who was running it extremely conservatively, mouth closed for much of the first half even, I saw two glaring errors that people made. And these are common, but once I'm telling you, so you shouldn't make them. Two things. Number one, people not taking the tangents. This is a curvy course. You're not going to get lost, but it's a curvy course, lots of turns. That's nice because if there was any sort of wind, which there wasn't, you wouldn't be stuck running into a headwind for 10 miles, 7 miles, whatever. There's a couple other half marathons. There's 1, 2, 3 half marathons out here, 2 on the Mickelson, 1 on down Spearfish Canyon, and they're point to point. So you could potentially run in a headwind for a long time. Not with this course. It's extremely curvy and shaded, covered by trees, so there was no wind to speak of. But people not taking the tangents. So you signed up for 13.1 miles, not 13.5. If you're trying to run in as quick of a time as possible, take the tangents. So that just means I'll draw it out. I should have drawn this out. So let's say okay. That's a turn on the road, all right? You're coming from this way. We have one runner on this side of the road, one runner on this side of the road. Who's running farther? Now take that and do it 20 times. So it's small, but it makes a difference. So, you got to turn like this, go straight instead of staying on the right side of the road. They closed off the entire road. It was all free to run on. So these people who, there were times where I was running basically with somebody. They would take the wide turn, I would take the short turn, and I would be ahead of them. So I mean, I took 2 less steps in them. But again, 20 times, that's a lot of steps. So it's, whatever. If you want more time on the course, take the long way around the turn. But number 2 thing I saw was people are not following the 6 Ps. Proper pacing prevents piss poor performance. When you're a quarter mile, a half mile into a half marathon, people should not be breathing hard. But I mean, I'm running along people, and I mean, no offense, I've made this mistake many times, but you need to practice patience early on so you don't expire. So, I mean, we're less than a mile into this race, and people are breathing hard. I was only passed by like 4 people, maybe the entire race. So, it's just, you gotta, and especially with a climb like that, you need to go slow, man. You just slow down. People will. I have a great quote from an athlete of mine from a different race today. He said, so he ran a 10K at half marathon pace today. And he said, started off on the race taking it nice and easy. People were pushing very fast, but I ignored them, thinking that I'll likely be passing them later. Sure enough, by even less than 1K, I started passing people. I used the downhills to my advantage, going faster and then slower up hills, knowing the big one would come around 7K. Proper pacing prevents piss poor performance. People will push the hill too hard. Unfortunately for those people, this was a 5.5 mile hill. So, like the last quarter, the last half of a race is full of people, struggling going forward who had a good first half. So just slow down, take it easy, let people go off ahead. Like my athlete here said at this 10K, like I saw, people will expire. And if you've preserved your stamina, you will catch them, you will pass them, and you will feel better than you would have otherwise. Research shows that if you take the hills slower and you're able to accelerate up the top and down rather than trying to maintain any sort of pace going up, you will be more successful over the distance. So take it for what it's worth. That's the main thing. So here is the pace chart of another athlete of mine that ran it today. He came in from Kentucky for this race. So things to note are that he ran an 11-minute average for the first 6 miles and an 8:40 for the last 7. So you can see right there, mile 5.5 is basically the top of the hill. There are a few little ups and downs during the uphill and downhill, but in general, that turning point right there is basically it's so downhill after that. So obviously by those big peaks and divots, that there are some major uphills. So like during this section, there are some good little short downhills, and during the net downhill finish, there's some pretty decent uphills. They're short. So but in general, 11-minute average for the first 6, 8:40 for the second. He said that he felt great the entire time. So he ran, within himself. He was able to comfortably speed up for the second half, and that is the proper way to do it. I have taught him well. So for training for this event, hill sprints, hill workouts should not be your main thing, because like I just said, you're going to be going really slow for that first 5.5 miles. So you're not going to be exerting yourself a lot, so you don't really have to do a lot of hard hill reps. Instead, put hills into your easy runs. So do rolling terrain for your easy, 3 mile, 30-minute, hour jogs. Put some hills in for those. Do some rolling hills in your long runs where you're running at that easy conversational pace. But the ticket to a successful race like this at this elevation profile is to do downhill workouts, because when you're running that downhill for that long, if you do it hard, I took it easy today because I wanted to reduce my soreness. But if you're going to run that hard, you're going to be hammering your quads in an eccentric way. So your legs are lengthening, but they're under load. That creates a lot of little micro tears in your muscle fibers. So doing downhill workouts in training will strengthen those quads, get your running technique, get your quads ready for that hard last 7 miles or so. You can do that in a number of ways. Like if you're following a training schedule, just a pre-written training schedule, if you have 800-meter repeats or you have a tempo run, try to do that on a net downhill course. Or so if you have like our bike path here, it goes uphill that way, downhill this way. So if you were doing 800-meter repeats, you could do them down, just downhill. Or if you're doing a tempo run uphill going out for the warm-up, and then do the entire tempo run downhill coming back, going east. So that's a way that you can strengthen your quads for that good eccentric strength that you will need for a quick, really steep downhill, long downhill, like this course, like Glacier has. So that's a big, very important training tip. There was a little bit of gravel, but it was so downhill that it was pretty compact too. So that's not really an issue. And it was only 2 miles maybe. So like there are two races on the Mickelson Trail, which is a rails to trails course out here in South Dakota, and those are almost completely 100% on gravel. So with those, I like to suggest my athletes do long runs on gravel if they can, just to get used to that. So I'm trying to think. That's about all I have off the top of my head for this race. So like I said, take the tangents. There's a lot of turns on this course. Proper pacing prevents piss poor performance. Take that uphill super relaxed, super easy, so you feel good at the top, and then hammer it on the way down. And the best way that you can hammer it on the way down successfully is to do downhill paved workouts in training leading up to this event. So if you did Rushmore or Glacier, and you can comment on long uphill and long downhill. If you did Rushmore, drop me a comment below. Let me know how you did, what you thought of it. And as always, you keep running, I'll keep coaching.